Well, good morning, and thanks to everyone for being here. I'm Bill Mano, Corporate Special Events Program Manager for the City of Austin. And the 2016 South by Southwest and Spring Festival season is here upon us again. Each day we are anticipating around 200,000 people to come to the downtown area, a lot of residents and a whole lot of visitors from out of town, out of state, and even out of the country. In addition, this year we will be joined by the President on Friday and the First Lady next week, I think on the 14th. We're here to provide an overview of the actions that we've taken to help prepare for this next few days, 2 weeks almost, and to show how there's an extra level of security and safety provided for the residents and the visitors that are coming here. And I'm joined from members of many city departments, Austin Police Department, Austin Travis County EMS, Austin Fire Department. We have Austin Code Department, Transportation Department, Health and Human Services, and also the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission. And we've all been working together on this plan for this season for almost a year, trying to get it all together. And I'll begin with a brief summary of some of the operational highlights this year. But before we get into that, I want to speak briefly on the President's visit. We're already leaning forward to plan and coordinate for public safety as this season begins. But in the anticipation of even heavier traffic this Friday, also want to advise of some of the following things that have taken place. City Manager has authorized an early release of non-essential employees at noon on Friday in an effort to reduce the number of vehicles on the road. We're asking employers to consider alternative methods, whether telecommuting or alternate work schedules for their employees. If you're going to go downtown on Friday, if you have to be downtown, please consider mass transit or carpooling. Should you need to be in downtown, just be prepared and be patient. There are going to be many traffic delays. South by Southwest and the city's Twitter account will be your go-to resource for road closures, traffic delays, and other important information. And be sure to follow @AustinTexasGov to stay up to date and hopefully enjoy the Spring Festival season as best as you can. With each major event, the City of Austin routinely reviews its policies and procedures, and we look for ways to improve, to make improvements for public safety and security for the people that are coming down to the downtown area. The three areas that we focus on for this are the city capacity for temporary events, crowd management, and traffic management, including street closures and access for pedestrians and bicycles. Some of the ways that we've addressed it this year is the deadline for temporary event applications. This is important because it allows us to manage the capacity of events in the city and the resources available to review and inspect those events. That gives us a more complete picture of the footprint that's going to be in the downtown area. This year, the number of temporary change of use permits and temporary use permits remained almost the same as last year, and the temporary event sound permits actually went up 25%. We received about 150 applications before the cutoff. Some of those were withdrawn or denied, but the majority of them have been approved. Other things that we are doing to ensure safety. I've got this late edition here. APD is going to have additional vehicles around the street closures and the footprint to enhance safety for all the attendees. APD is also going to set up a 20-foot emergency lane down the center of 6th Street to allow greater access and mobility for officers and emergency vehicles. Based on traffic conditions and safety needs, APD is going to implement public safety street closures throughout the event Are you going to get into the specific times? Okay, and so you'll hear more about that shortly. That's a little bit of change from last year. We're generally trying to keep 6th Street open longer this year. We will have the ability to change the signal timing from the Traffic Management Center. Once again, we're going to operate our central command over at One Texas Center, and we'll have representatives from all the departments we've already mentioned, as well as South by Southwest. We'll have personnel there. And anything that comes up, we can not only respond to it quickly, many times we can see it forming and take care of it before it becomes a problem. And that's particularly true because we'll have traffic engineers in there that are monitoring all the traffic cameras, and there'll be additional cameras installed throughout town as well. Austin Transportation Department is partnering with Metropia Traffic App representatives in the TMC to disseminate real-time information on traffic conditions during South by Southwest to the general public via Twitter. Austin Transportation and South by Southwest are working with their transportation network companies such as Uber and Lyft, taxi companies, and other transportation companies to coordinate staging and drop-off locations throughout the downtown area. Transportation Department is also coordinating with private shuttles and South by Southwest shuttles to prevent overlap or conflicting routes. In addition to, I mentioned the Central Command. That will be kicking off at 5 a.m. Friday morning, and it will operate all the other days from 8 a.m. to 3 in the morning. Also, the operations for the presidential visit will be handled through there as well. Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission has once again stepped up and graciously provided additional agents for the Austin area. That was a tremendous help last year, and again, we're just anticipating a lot of help from them this year. It really helps to have them out there looking for violations of permitted properties, licensed properties. We're going to have our Public Assembly Code Enforcement, or PACE teams out. Those are comprised of APD officers, fire department, fire marshals or inspectors, code department inspectors, and health department inspectors as needed. Health department, the health inspectors will be also operating independently in many different venues and inspections. Additionally, right-of-way, the Austin Transportation Right-of-Way Division is going to have a lot of personnel out in the area looking for violations of parking and helping assist with other obstructions to the traffic. With that, I would like to turn this over to Assistant Chief Chris McElvain with the Austin Police Department, and he'll give you all additional information.
Thank you, Bill. Good morning. I'm going to touch on some of the specifics that will be handled by the Austin Police Department for the duration of the South by Southwest and Spring Festival. All barricades around the outer perimeter for South by Southwest will have a marked patrol vehicle present to enhance safety. Obviously, there are going to be numerous road closures in the downtown area that are going to have a direct impact on traffic flow and mobility, so please be patient, as Bill said. We do have an interactive map of road closures at the following website, austintexas.gov/citystage. Under the upcoming event, click on South by Southwest 2016, and you'll be able to have access to that interactive map, and we'll outline all of our road closures. Additionally, 6th Street and Red River will reopen daily to help with downtown mobility during the events, which is a big change from last year. The closures will now be from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. from March 11th through the 14th, and then beginning on March 15th, it will close at noon until 6 a.m. And we anticipate this will help with some of the traffic congestion issues on 6th Street that we saw last year. Again, with traffic management, please be patient. Do not enter blocked intersections and add to the problem. Don't block the box, if you will. We strongly encourage the public to utilize public transportation and bicycles whenever possible. We will have numerous additional personnel assigned specifically to downtown traffic management. Motorcycle officers will be assigned to assist with the flow on major arteries such as IH-35 frontage roads, 11th Street, 7th Street, 5th Street, and Cesar Chavez. We will have officers in vehicles helping to improve traffic flow in and out of the area via 5th Street and 7th Street during the event. And the Transportation Department will monitor camera coverage of downtown to identify backups and help us adjust personnel accordingly. If there are problems with traffic flow, we encourage people to please call 311, not 911. And our dispatchers are prepared to route calls with 311 as appropriate, but we encourage folks to please utilize 311 if they're experiencing delays or issues with traffic. But as I've stated, we all know what to expect for the next 9 to 10 days. With regarding the presidential visit on March 11th, expect even more significant traffic delays in the downtown areas, early afternoon through the evening hours, particularly the route from the airport into downtown. And this particular day will include temporary and unannounced road closures, which we obviously cannot put out at this time. With pedestrian management, in years past, pedestrians have obviously contributed to some of our congestion issues, so we encourage folks to please be safe, have fun while you're downtown, but please stay out of the roadways when they're open. This just contributes to our traffic management problems. The public is reminded they must follow all pedestrian and traffic control signals, and additional officers will be present and assisting at intersections to help control that pedestrian traffic. Our public assembly code enforcement team, the PACE teams, will be out. It will be our teams consisting of Austin Police Department, Austin Fire Department, Code Compliance, Texas Alcohol Beverage, and Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission to help. And they will be actively working throughout South by Southwest, identifying problem areas, and helping us enforce laws and regulations. Many of our parking areas downtown have been displaced for the event. No parking and tow-away zones will be strictly enforced. Many residential areas downtown require permits, so please, before you park, make sure that you're not parking somewhere that's going to ultimately end up having your car towed. And we strongly encourage the public to utilize public transportation and bicycles whenever possible. Alcohol consumption, we think there might be some going on during South by Southwest. We have some intel. So city is working with many venues to encourage better management of alcohol consumption. And again, as with last year, Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission is going to be working closely with APD, actively looking for minors in possession, but also intoxicated individuals as well. This year, a change from last year is our DWI enforcement. Last year, we had 3 days of no refusal during South by Southwest. This year, we will have an extended no refusal DWI initiative that will begin at 9 p.m. on Friday, this says March 3rd, but I believe it's March 9th or 11th.
No, it's already started.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
That's what I meant. This is absolutely correct. It began last Friday, March 3rd, and it will run through March 22nd at 5 p.m. Thank you very much. This is the first year of our extended DWI enforcement. And again, last year it only lasted 3 days, but it did result in 61 DWI arrests. In addition to the extended DWI no refusal weekend, we will have additional officers who aren't necessarily assigned to the DWI unit who will be out actively enforcing DWIs. As in years past, we'll have additional staffing of officers to assist with increased call volume in the downtown area, and our special response team will deploy in the downtown area on the last weekend, the music weekend of South by Southwest, the Friday and Saturday, to handle the large influx of folks that we anticipate for that weekend. New this year, too, APD's mobile app has gone live. So we strongly encourage folks to download the app. It will help people stay informed and engaged by getting direct access to important information and APD services. Features include station locations, crime prevention information, news updates, and the ability to file certain types of police reports online from the app. Users can also send tips to APD and have the option to be anonymous. Tipsters can include their GPS location, texts, a photo, and have secure two-way chats with officers. Again, one thing I want to stress and point out is that this particular app is not meant to replace 911 in the event of an emergency. If there's an emergency situation, this is not the venue to report that. 911 needs to be utilized. This app is for everything I described prior. And with that, I will turn it over to Wes.
Good morning. My name is Division Chief Wes Hopkins with Austin Travis County Emergency Medical Services. I'm going to talk about the staffing plan as it relates to South by Southwest and the Spring Break Festival. Austin Travis County EMS will enact the same staffing plan we've utilized in the previous 3 years that will not utilize 911 ambulances. The majority of our staffing plan will coincide with the music portion of South by Southwest and will encompass the entertainment district and surrounding 6th Street. We will deploy what's known as a patient collection point, and that will be an area that we can evaluate patients, monitor patients, and ultimately transport them to the hospital should that be needed. That will be active during Tuesday, March 15th through Saturday, March 19th from approximately 3 p.m. until 3 a.m. We will staff a representative in the Event Operations Center, or what's known as Central Command. We'll also staff 2 911 communications medics in there as well, and they will deploy what's known as a geofence that will kick any EMS 911 related calls over to the special event assets on the ground, again, not utilizing 911 ambulances. We will staff a medical branch officer in the downtown area that will assist in coordinating responses, as well as a logistics officer that will ensure that our medics have everything that they need. We will put medics on special response units or Polaris Rangers that can crowd extract. We'll also be deploying our motorcycle medics that can first respond. We will also have transport ambulances assigned to the patient collection point that will transport people to the appropriate facility should that be needed. I'm going to turn things over now to Angel. Thank you. All right, well, we're now going to open the floor to a media Q&A. As Bill said earlier, we have representatives from South by Southwest, Austin Transportation Department, the Austin Fire Department, Austin Travis County Health and Human Services, the Austin Code Department, and I believe I saw Chris Porter here, yes, the TABC. So with that, and also I'd like to ask for the speakers who are answering the questions to introduce themselves and who they're with.
Well, I guess one of the first questions is, with the president coming, we all know how bad South by Southwest traffic is, just to begin with. Adding that to the mix from about 1 o'clock until in the evening, going from the Long Center and various points, what do you all feel like is going to be the impact for folks traffic-wise?
I would love to say minimal, but we all know that's not true. It's going to be very significant. And that's why we are strongly urging mass transit. And if employers can come up with some alternative ideas for either telecommuting or different schedules for their shifts, we strongly recommend that. One thing I didn't mention, we keep talking about mass transit, but Capital Metro has added a lot of buses and a lot of extra pickups with the Metro Rail, and all that information is on their website. So if you are planning to come downtown and you want to use mass transit, look at their website because they'll have a lot of extra resources applied. But it is going to be very significant, and like we said, it's going to require a lot of patience, a lot of forethought, and just understand it's going to be a mess.
What kind of response have you gotten from the request for some other employers to maybe send people home early? Have you heard anything back?
Not at this time. We haven't heard anything back.
Question for APD, Robert Maxwell, KXAN. Last year, there was an issue both with overtime that was unplanned and pulling detectives off of their duties to do street patrol. Can you talk a bit about how that's being approached this year?
Yes, we actually are utilizing overtime only for this South by Southwest event, which is something that we went to council and asked for earlier this year, end of last year, and ultimately got that approved. So all of our South by Southwest staffing this year will be done utilizing overtime. No support personnel, detectives, or officers who are not first-line officers will be pulled from their normal assignments to work the event.
Does that include the president's part?
President's part is a little different. We are having to readjust some staffing on Friday to handle that because it was kind of a short-term issue, and we had so many resources dedicated to South by Southwest that it did create an extra challenge. So we are having to utilize some additional resources that will not be covered by the $1.5 million in South by Southwest overtime.
Chief, can you talk about how the officer shortage has created a challenge covering big events like South by Southwest and the President's visit?
I can tell you, it really wasn't a challenge to cover South by Southwest. We actually got all of our overtime assignments filled in record time. We had a large response from our officers, and we were able to get it filled much quicker than we have in years past. Part of that is due to the fact that officers are volunteering their time as opposed to having to rearrange schedules and then create that backfill situation where we have to fill their spot then on patrol. So it actually has been less challenging this year, even though we all do recognize that APD is facing a staffing issue.
Can you tell us how many officers will be working South by Southwest during the two?
I don't have the total numbers, but it will be anywhere from 150 to 200 per day. And then obviously that last weekend of music is going to be, those additional SRT personnel will be on top of those already planned to be staffed for the event.
Okay, so other areas are properly staffed. They're not just all going to be in downtown Austin.
Correct.
You mentioned that the president is a challenge, though, with all of that going on for South by Southwest. How much so, and do you feel it's adequate what you're able to do?
I didn't say the president was a challenge because I don't really know him. But his visit is presenting a little bit of a challenge, only because of the event itself. We've had 11 months to plan for South by Southwest. At the conclusion of last year, we begin the planning process for next year, almost immediately. So that the size and scope of the event is obviously a challenge. The size and scope of a presidential visit is almost as challenging, and with such a short time frame, that's where we are presented with a challenge. If it weren't during South by Southwest, where we already had so many resources already utilized and being appropriated for the event, it wouldn't be as big an issue. But we've got, it's nothing we can't handle, and we feel like we've got everything in place to handle it appropriately.
In terms of both South by and the President's visit, are you utilizing resources from outside agencies such as DPS, Round Rock, Cedar Park Police?
Yes, and I don't have the exact agencies or the numbers that are involved, but yes, we have reached out and we are getting assistance from outside law enforcement agencies in the region.
Is there anything else in terms of barricade, standing up on barricades that is different from last year? The water barricades will be in place again at the perimeter?
We're not using water barricades as extensively as last year because our plan is to create more mobility, especially in the 6th Street Red River area. Water barricades obviously present a challenge to closing and reopening the roads daily. So in those areas, we're not going to use the water barricades as we did last year. We will be utilizing the Type 3 barricades with 2 patrol vehicles as an additional barrier. But that way we have more opportunities to open and close the road when needed.
And do you have enough patrol vehicles? Last year you were doubling up officers outside the downtown to bring patrol vehicles downtown. Is that the case again this year?
We actually have been we're in a better position this year because we were planning for it, whereas last year it wasn't we weren't planning for it like we were this year. So it's not creating the same types of challenges, plus the fact that since we're not pulling folks off of their regular duty assignments, part of the plan was to make sure that we didn't impact the fleet for our patrol services at the substations.
Do you have a number of vehicles that will be in the perimeter or around the perimeter?
I do not.
Chief, what are the safety concerns when you have such a large gathering and you have POTUS coming?
Well, any large event is going to be challenging. I mean, we've been blessed in that we have such a great team that focuses on this event. As I said, we're looking at it a year in advance every time, and we have a very good template. And so when you throw something like the POTUS visit in, which we have an executive protection unit that does a phenomenal job. This is what they do. So when I'm very confident in the fact that we've got 2 teams that handle these types of events flawlessly. They are planning for it all the time. We always know that POTUS is going to go where he's going to go, and we have to be prepared for short notice events like this. So it's just we've got 2 separate teams doing their jobs. It just happens to overlap on the same time frame. So I'm not really concerned. My main concern is the havoc it may cause the havoc it will cause on the traffic.
But what are some of the safety concerns that you have to think about and kind of prepare for?
Well, I'm not prepared to discuss anything related to the POTUS visit specifically.
What about South by Southwest?
Well, South by Southwest, obviously, our main concern is pedestrian safety. You know, it's such a heavily attended event that it's a challenge when you have that many people versus the number of officers we have. But as we have seen in years past, our staffing model has proven to work very well, and I'm sure that's no accident. You know, we know that 6th Street is an entertainment destination. The fact that we close 6th Street every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night, we have a mini special event every weekend downtown. So our folks are very well trained. They are used to these events. If it weren't for the fact that they do this almost every weekend on a smaller scale, obviously, but we close roads every weekend. We staff 6th Street accordingly to prepare for large crowds. So South by Southwest is just that on a grander scale.
Chris, can I ask you a few questions from TABC? As far as operations to undercover operations for confined minors, can you tell us how many? How long is it going to be?
Of course. My name is Chris Porter. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission. And in answer to your question, we do have some operations taking place throughout the spring break time period to identify any retailers that are selling alcohol to minors improperly. And so that involves having a minor age volunteer going into the location and attempting to purchase alcohol. And if that takes place, then obviously TABC can take action. For South by Southwest specifically, we'll be conducting checks to ensure retailers aren't selling alcohol to intoxicated people, or again, that alcohol to minors, except it'll just be TABC agents conducting those checks without the minor volunteer.
So, Chris, everything starts Monday?
The spring break operation actually began March 1st.
Okay. And
I know you have a lot of places, restaurants, I can think of a few off the top of my head, that just have kegs sitting out. And anyone can come and just get a beer. And I'm sure they're hoping that they are 21 and older. But there's really no one monitoring who's filling up their cup or their whatever. Are y'all trying to crack down on that more this year?
We do that. We do, again, those normal checks. And anytime we find any retailer, regardless of what their status is, selling the alcohol, making sure that the person isn't properly of age before they purchase that alcohol.
It's not even buying. It's just free and available.
Right. Well, if there's free and available, there are circumstances where that can be permitted. But again, we rely upon the retailers to ensure that they're following the alcoholic beverage code and making sure they sell alcohol to people who, aren't sell or serve alcohol rather to people who aren't intoxicated and who are of proper legal age.
I have an overcapacity question. Who can answer that? Like, how are we making sure, is that Austin Fire? How are we making sure that venues stay within the correct amount of patrons and not have them file into the streets and create more of a danger for pedestrians?
Gotcha. So I'm Division Chief Rob Byers. I'm the Fire Marshal for the City of Austin. And we have a group of inspectors that will be out roaming the streets, not only with PACE, but individual night inspectors separate from our normal staffing that will be out there looking for overcrowding, blocked exits, stuff like that to ensure the safety of the folks while they're enjoying the festivities downtown.
How big is this group? Is it like 2, or do you have?
We're still working on some numbers. There's multiple facets to it. We've got fire watches, we've got PACE folks. I want to say in the neighborhood of probably 20 to 30 inspectors per evening will be out and about in some form or fashion.
And when does that start? Friday?
That starts Friday night.
Okay.
And along this line, I believe it's 30 years of enjoying South by Southwest in Austin. Each year, we go through the same thing. As mentioned before, we spent 11 months preparing for this, and it's not our first time. We've got 30 previous examples of the same sort of event that we work on and build upon to make sure that we're doing the best to keep folks safe so they're enjoying their time downtown.
Can someone speak to lessons learned and what we're doing better this year? Bill? Please?
Lessons learned. Well, every year after the event, when we start debriefing, there's always areas of improvement that we identify. One of the big improvements we made from last year is in 2014, special event applications, or what we call ACE applications, Austin Center for Event, they could be received in multiple email inboxes through various city departments. And when we thought we had reached our capacity last year, and in fact we were way over it, because there were these emails sitting in all these submittals sitting in all these email boxes, And once we pulled it together, we realized there was a lot more out there. So immediately after last year, we got with all the departments and we enacted a single point of entry for all ACE submittals. And that has allowed us to track those better and more timely.
So there are fewer vendors this year. Is that an accurate statement? If you've limited the number of permits, are they fewer?
Well, what I was referring to is the number of email inboxes they can be sent to, because they were sent to special event units from multiple
Right.
city departments. Well, now they are all sent to one email address.
But have you not limited the permits?
Yes, based on capacity. And when we sent the initial message out that we had reached capacity, we realized that there were several events that take place every year. And it's like, where are they? We don't see them in the list. And so we started a process of going back through all the 130 some odd submittals and looking at which ones didn't require permit in the first place, which ones were obviously going to be denied because of public safety issues. There were some that were withdrawn. So we were able to reduce the overall number, and in fact, we received approximately 150 by 5 p.m. Friday, February the 5th, and that's where it was cut off.
And of those, how many are actually going to have something going on of the 150?
I believe I counted about 14 yesterday that were withdrawn, denied, or canceled.
We have time for a couple more questions, and then we're going to wrap up.
And one thing, of that 136 then I'm guessing you're down to, how does that 136 compare to previous years? Is it up, down, about the same?
It's about the same, like I mentioned last. Now, an application can request a temporary use permit, a temporary change of use permit, or a temporary sound event permit, or all three of them. And so, when you look at the total number of individual permits, we are probably around 220 some odd total permits, but that's with about 150 applications. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I thought you said earlier sound permits were up, like 25%, did you say that?
Yes, they went down considerably last year, and one of the reasons, another one of the reasons they've gone down is because there's less vacant lots for events to take place there because of construction. But the music events, the temporary sound event permits dropped sharply last year, and now we're back up 25% from 2014.
And why do you think that is?
Because people were finding more spaces, I guess.
No, but you say they're back up, and yet we have fewer spaces, right?
Yeah, but somehow they find a lot of the spaces that might have been used for temporary change of use or temporary use permits last year and not sound could be used for sound this year. So that's probably part of the change.
Can anyone else talk about the safety, how we're ensuring the safety of patrons? The other departments that didn't get a chance to speak, would you like to say something, anything? Really? I'm not doing anything to try to keep Boston Knights and visitors safe?
I can speak real quick to see
Okay.
what else I got.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
My name is Marcel Alexander with the Austin Travis County Health Department Environmental Health Officer Supervisor. With this event, we have a humongous number of food being served out there at multiple venues. So far this year, as of this morning, we have over 162 food events and over 360 booths out there. I have a dedicated staff. I have a special permitting unit, dedicated staff of 6 inspectors, senior health officers that are going to be out there trying to investigate every single booth that's out there. And as we go out there, we check food temperatures, making sure they're washing their hands. A lot of the violations we find are insufficient water supply. So if they're not washing their hands, how are you serving safe food? So you're touching that dirty money, then you're going to go serve that food. So we go out there, and oftentimes we have to shut down these businesses for the weekend because they don't have the proper facilities.
Have you shut them down before? How
Yes,
many?
ma'am, every year.
Every year. How many have you shut
I
down?
don't have the specific stats. I can get stats for you.
Yes, please.
Okay, I want to thank everyone for coming out today. If you have any additional questions or requests for interviews, this can be made outside in the atrium to the respective department, and if they are able to, they will make those